Welcome to the Lifetime Assembly channel. My name is John, and today I'm going to help you assemble your Big Stuff swing set. Before we get started, make sure the model number of your swing set is listed in the description below. This video will follow the steps outlined in the assembly manual that comes with the swing set, so if you've already begun and need help on a specific step, check the description below for a timestamp associated with each step. Your swing set comes in several boxes and pieces, but should all come on one big pallet. So let's take a look at what you should have received. There are steps within this assembly that require more than one person, so be sure to have at least one other adult available to help. Before we get into the assembly process, let's take a look at the tools you'll need to complete the job. You'll need a ladder, a Phillips head screwdriver, a rubber mallet, safety glasses, a Phillips head bit, a drill. You may just use an impact driver. If you decide to use one as well, be sure not to over torque or over tighten the hardware. 2 1/2-inch wrenches, a 7/16 wrench, 2 3/16 Allen keys, which are included, a 1/2-inch socket, a 7/16 socket, a 1/4-inch drill bit, and a 3/8 drill bit. To make this easier, we're going to use a 3/16 hex head socket and a socket adapter. When building your swing set, it's important that you choose a flat level area that is free from obstructions and at least 7 feet from buildings, trees, fences, or any other object. Also, to reduce the risk of injury, it's important that you prepare a shock-absorbing surface to build your swing set on, such as recycled rubber mulch or wood chips. This video will focus on the assembly of the swing set and not the shock-absorbing surface, so it's important that you refer to your assembly manual to review the safety instructions for this build. This video is meant to be used as a companion to the assembly manual and not a direct replacement, so for the best results, make sure to have the assembly manual on hand during the build. Alright, let's get started. Take the 2 swing bars, the long and the short, and secure them together with the hardware. To secure this hardware, I'm using a 3/16 bit and Allen key. Now attach the pendulums to the brackets on the swing bar, making sure not to over tighten the hardware because you want the pendulums to swing freely. Also, when tightening this hardware, you'll need a 1/2-inch wrench. Take a long pole that has a warning label and 4 smaller holes, and then take a short pole that has 1 small hole and slide them together. Make sure that all of the small holes are on the same side. Secure the 2 poles together through the top hole, leaving the bottom hole empty. You'll add hardware to that one later. Take one of the longer poles that doesn't have any smaller holes like the other pole does, and then a top pole that has 1 small hole, and slide them together, making sure to secure them through the top hole just as we did before. Take 2 longer poles and 2 shorter poles. The 2 shorter poles won't have any small holes in them like the other ones did, and secure them together through the top hole. It's important to know before moving on that the poles with the small holes will go on the side with the short swing bar, and the other poles will go on the long swing bar side. Take the poles from the previous step and add them to the long swing bar. With the playset oriented like this, take the pole that only has one small hole and make sure that the hole is facing out, and then slide it into the bottom hole right here. For the last pole, make sure that the small holes are all facing out before you slide it into the hole. On the poles that don't have any small holes, connect them together with the turn bar, going through the hole that we left open earlier, making sure the turn bar is on the outside. With the help of another person, lift the assembly up onto its feet. Add a foot cap to the pole with the warning label and the two poles on the opposite side, making sure that the long edge of your foot cap is on the outside, and secure them to the pole with the plugs. It may be helpful to have someone hold up the legs while you add the foot caps. Take two long poles with lots of holes and two smaller poles, then secure them together with the hardware. Take the flat plugs and place them into the bottom of the long poles. Orient your poles like this, and then make sure that the small holes are facing in. Then take your short deck support with the two holes in the middle and place the poles over the edges. Make sure that the edge with the small holes is facing away from you. Line up these holes with the holes in the deck support and secure with the hardware. Attach the cross brace to the poles and deck support through these holes. Now add the caps to the ends of the deck support. Now flip the assembly over to the other side. With your deck support assembly oriented like this, place a long deck support that has no hooks on this side. If it's helpful to get your hands underneath, you can put the assembly on some styrofoam blocks. Make sure the Lifetime logo is on the outside and oriented so that you can read it. Add the cap to the bottom of the deck support we just added. Add the cross brace to the long deck support tube and pull. Add the long deck support tube to the opposite side, making sure that the hooks are facing up. Add a cross brace to the long deck support that we just added. Take the other short deck support and place it over the long deck supports, making sure that the edge with the small holes is facing down. Take the inside deck support and place it inside the frame and make sure that all the hooks are on the same side and facing up. With the help of another person, lift the deck frame assembly up against the A-frame assembly and secure with the hardware. Take the ladder leg, which is the leg with small holes, and place the cap on top, making sure it's oriented like this. Attach the top of the ladder leg to the deck frame, making sure to add your washer onto the bolt. Add the foot cap to the ladder leg using the same method as the other foot caps. Add the ladder rungs to the leg we just added and the pole with the warning sticker. You may not want to tighten this hardware completely so that you can get the other set of rungs in as well. Take the cargo net leg, which is the other leg that has no holes, place the cap on top, and then lean against the frame for now. Lay out the cargo net so that the small loops are at the top and bottom and the large loops are on the sides. The large loops go over the side legs here. Make sure you keep the loops in order as you slide them onto the pole. Take the small loops at the top and slide them onto the hooks inside the deck. Slide the cargo net pole through all 4 loops at the bottom of the net. Add the foot cap to the pole using the same method as the other foot caps, making sure to line up the holes as much as possible so that you can easily slide the hardware through. Add the saddle caps to the bottom cargo net pole and then secure with the hardware. Place the deck panels onto the deck, making sure that the textured side is facing up. The panels have interlocking tabs in the middle. Make sure they overlap correctly so that the panels sit flush against the frame. Add a handrail that only has one handhold to each corner of the deck, making sure it's oriented like this and that the end that you're connecting to the deck only has one hole. Only finger tighten this hardware for now. Attach the handrail that has 2 handholds to the middle edge of the deck, making sure it's oriented like this and you're connecting it through the side that only has one hole. Now that all the handrails are in place, go ahead and tighten the hardware. Using the self-tapping screws, finish securing the panels to the frame through the remaining holes. The screws are designed to go through the metal. Now you can secure the cargo net leg to the frame. Take your deck tubes and add a cap into each end, making sure that the notch in the cap lines up with the hole in the ends of the tube. Place the deck tubes from the previous step over the handrails and secure with the hardware. There are two remaining square tubes that are a little bit longer. The tube that has 3 small holes goes against the A-frame, and the other tube goes on the opposite side. When attaching the tube to the handrails on this side, make sure that the 3 holes is closer to the side with the ladder and that they're facing up. When attaching the tube to this side, make sure that these small holes are facing down and that the 2 holes that are close together are closer to the ladder side. If you're having the same issue as us, where the tube won't slide between the A-frame and the handrail, you may need to lift up one of the feet so that the tube can slide in place. Once it's in place and the holes are lined up, go ahead and remove the blocks that you added. Secure the tube to the A-frame through the oblong hole, making sure to add your washer to the hardware. On the opposite side, attach the tube to the poles through the oblong holes, making sure to add your washer. Add the cap, making sure the notches in the cap line up with the holes in the pole. Then insert the plug in the outside hole. Take the two halves of the climbing walls, drill out the 5 divots on each edge of the climbing wall with a 1/4 inch drill bit. There are 2 tubes that you'll use to connect the climbing wall panels together. One is longer with holes closer to one end, and one is shorter with holes slightly further away from the edge. Take the long tube and place it into this notch next to the large opening, making sure that the end with the 2 holes goes in the middle. Line up the hole at the end of the tube with the hole in the middle of the wall panel and then secure with the hardware. There are no other pre-drilled holes in the tube, so you need to use the holes that we drilled out earlier as a guide and make sure that the tube is pushed up against the notch in the wall. Take the short tube and place it in the same notch on the panel. Line up the holes at the bottom and then secure with the hardware. Now you can attach the other side of the rock wall to the tubes that we added earlier. Make sure that before you attach them, the large openings are opposite each other. Rest the tube into the notch on the other rock wall panel and then line up the holes and secure with the hardware. Keep in mind that only 2 holes will have pre-drilled holes. The other holes you'll have to use self-tapping screws to go through the metal. Stand the rock wall up against the deck. Now connect the rock wall to the inside of the poles, making sure that the one pre-drilled hole lines up on both sides before adding hardware to the other holes. Make sure that before you add the hardware to the other holes, that the rock wall is straight and in the middle of the pole. Take the chalkboard and place it up against the A-frame and then line up these 3 holes with the 3 small holes underneath this tube. When adding the hardware to the bottom, make sure to add the bushing between the chalkboard and the A-frame. Take the pole that has 4 holes in it and place it in between the 2 tubes that stick out past the deck. Line up the holes in the ends of the tubes with the holes in the pole and secure with the hardware. Twist the pole so that the holes are facing slightly up, and then add the caps to the ends of the tubes, making sure that the notch in the cap goes over the hardware. Now repeat, adding the tube to the opposite side. Take the tubes that have a crimped end, connect them together, making sure that the small holes are facing up. When adding the hardware, make sure a washer goes on each side. When tightening this hardware, you'll need a 1/2-inch wrench. Repeat the previous step 3 more times for a total of 4 trusses. Place the trusses with the small holes facing up onto these poles, and then secure with the hardware. Once the trusses are in place and the hardware is tight, add the caps, making sure the notches fit around the hardware. Now attach a roof panel to the trusses, making sure that the crimped end of the trusses go into these notches and that the holes line up with the roof, and then secure with the hardware. Repeat for the panel on the other side of the roof. The next roof panel will slide underneath the previous roof panel and secure them using the same method as before. Under the deck in this opening next to the ladder, there are divots labeled with letters. Drill out the letters LIM with a 3/8 drill bit. The slide comes in two pieces, a large piece and a small piece. They'll be connected later. Flip the slide over, and at the top you'll notice these 3 divots. Drill them out with a 3/8 drill bit. Flip the slide back over and drill out the 4 holes on the opposite end. Take the smaller piece and drill out the 4 holes along the edge. Take the small half of the slide and place it over the large half, making sure that the tabs interlock. Secure the 2 halves of the slide together with the hardware. You're going to need a 7/16 wrench. With the help of another person, lift the slide up into place over the holes that we drilled out previously. Line up the holes in the slide with the holes in the deck, add the hardware, but make sure to add the washers on both sides. On this tube next to the slide, add the bracket to this hole, making sure it's oriented like this. Place the binoculars into the bracket, making sure they're oriented correctly, and then add the hardware, making sure to put a washer on both sides. You'll need a 1/2" wrench to tighten this. Take your clicker and add the center bolt going from the back. Then connect it to this tube through these 2 holes. Place the steering wheel over the clicker, then add the washer, then the nut. Tighten the nut so that it doesn't wobble. Place the cover over the middle and push until it's flush against the wheel. Take the short tubes and place a cap inside the end that has an oblong hole, making sure that the notches in the cap line up with the holes in the tubes. Place the seat over the tube, making sure that the 2 holes in the seat line up with the 2 holes in the tube and that the oblong hole is facing up. There are 3 chains and all of them have an eye bolt on each end. There's only one chain that has an eye bolt that is shorter than the rest of them. Make sure that the shorter eye bolt does not get connected to any seat. Add a washer to the eye bolt and then insert the eye bolt into this hole in the seat and secure with the hardware. Repeat these steps for the other 2 seats. Bring the 3 assemblies together and place a 6-hole bracket on the top and bottom and secure through the holes in the middle. Place the 3-hole cap over the top and secure through the outer set of holes. Connect the swing through these 3 holes, making sure that the short eye bolt goes through here. You'll also need to add a washer to the eye bolt. Now connect the swings and trapeze bar to the pendulums. Thank you for watching this video on how to assemble your Lifetime Big Stuff swing set. If you found this video helpful, give us a thumbs up. For more content like this, subscribe to our channel. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to our customer service team and check out our other awesome products at lifetime.com.